Are you hurting? Are you struggling? Are you aching? Do you have a void within you and a longing that you just can't seem to fill? Well, this might sound a little bit crazy, but I know the solution to all of your problems. Perhaps you feel disinterested in the things that you once were, or perhaps you feel disengaged as a parent or in family life. Perhaps you feel deflated or defeated, and no matter what you do, you just can't seem to overcome that nothing is working out for you. I know this might sound a little cliche, but I know the solution to all of your problems and mine. And here are 4 mistakes that we make in trying to find the way. Our first mistake is that we usually try and find the solution to all of our problems in natural things. Like, for example, rest, or exercise, or food, or entertainment. And don't get me wrong, all of these things are good. And sometimes we might need a pharmaceutical for a biological chemical imbalance in our bodies so that it can operate the way that it was designed and meant to. But if after seeking these things, we still have this emptiness and this void in our lives, then we haven't really addressed the root of the problem. So our second common mistake is we turn inward and focus on self. We focus inward on things like self-improvement and books and harnessing our own power and strength. And these things are good too. But ultimately, we come to recognize that no matter how hard we try to harness our own power and our own strength, it's never enough to overcome the obstacles and hurdles in our life. So then we make mistake number 3, where we recognize that we can't find within ourselves alone the solution. We can't find the way to overcome the obstacles and find fulfillment. So what we do is we seek that in mythical spirituality. And this is actually a good thing in a certain sense, because it's a recognition that we can't find that within our own power and our own strength. However, this is usually sought after in things like tarot cards, or horoscopes, or stars, or harnessing the energy of the universe. And oftentimes it's exercised in Eastern spirituality or New Age practices. After seeking and searching through all of these things, sometimes we are still left with that aching and that longing for more and that void in our hearts. And that leads us to our 4th mistake, when we try and find the solution in the way in abusive things. This is oftentimes in the extreme when we turn to things like drugs and alcohol and substances. We turn to things like promiscuity or even hurting ourselves as a means to be able to find the solution and the resolution to our hurting and to our brokenness. We find ourselves having to return again and again, even more frequently, seeking after even more extreme means of relieving ourselves and distracting ourselves from the very life that we were meant to live. Here's the reality, is that none of these things in and of themselves are the solution to our problems. No amount of fitness or rest or self-improvement or our own power and strength or harnessing the energy of the universe or some Greek mythical gods or substances, none of that can save us from our own suffering and the void and emptiness within our own hearts. So often what we try and do is turn to the created thing to bring us new life. But science tells us something really important, is that a created thing isn't the source of its own life and the source of its own existence. Let's turn to the Creator, who created creation itself and breathed life into existence. If you've made any of these 4 mistakes that we often tend to make in life, I want to encourage you and invite you, let's turn to the most obvious solution to our problems. The Creator, God Himself. 2,000 years ago, the eternal God who created everything came to earth in the person of Jesus Christ, and He showed us the best way to live for our good. He demonstrated and proved His love for us by willingly being tortured and persecuted, nailed to a cross, and dying for us. But here's the incredible thing, and this is good news, is what separates Jesus Christ from every other mythical God known to man is not only did He die for us, but He also rose from the dead, defeating death. Maybe you've never really given Jesus consideration before. Or maybe you're a Catholic that's gone to church your whole life, that's participated in the utmost of devotions, considered yourself maybe elite, even more Catholic than the Pope. Yet you seem to lack the visible and tangible, authentic joy that can be witnessed by the world, despite having the grace of the sacraments in your life. But no matter who you are, where you're from, no matter how young or old, if you are struggling, if you have inner turmoil, if you are lacking joy and fulfillment, if you are longing for something more and you have an emptiness and a void within you, I know the solution to all of your problems. His name is Jesus Christ. And he didn't necessarily promise to take away our sufferings and our pain in this life. In fact, what he said is if we follow his way and his instruction, that we would face persecution and suffering and turmoil, and that we ourselves would have a cross that we would need to bear just like he did. But what he did promise was true, authentic joy and fulfillment, even in the midst of our suffering and our trial. Because he is the only way. He is the fullness of truth, and he is the life that we so desperately crave to have in the void of our hearts. If you're aching to have life within you, the solution to all of your problems is the one who wants for you to know him. Great saints of history and the billions of followers of Jesus for 2,000 years have willingly given their lives to follow him. These are the people who gave up their riches for rags to voluntarily live in poverty. These are people who were illiterate or were uneducated, people who endured sickness and hardship, people who were persecuted, who were imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, people who were beheaded simply for saying the name of Jesus. Yet despite their suffering and their circumstance and their trials and their persecution, they chose to follow Jesus because they knew that their joy was not dependent on their circumstance, but their joy came not from the created thing, but from the Creator. It's these followers of Jesus, though they may have had nothing, knew where their joy and their fulfillment came from. They didn't chase after the created thing, they seeked after the Creator himself. If you have an aching and a hurt and a brokenness within you, if you have a longing and a void in your hearts and an emptiness that you just can't seem to fill no matter how hard you try, I want to invite you to open our hearts to Jesus. If we seem to be lacking the authentic joy and the fulfillment and the life that we are meant to have inside of us, then let's open the Gospels and hear him speak and breathe life into us today. Because COVID-19 has changed the way that I am able to do ministry, that I'm not able to travel to sing and speak at churches and schools right now, I am building an online community of faith where we can come together to be inspired and equipped to share and live our faith. I would love for you to be part of this community. Basically, I'm taking my passion and my zeal that I've presented to tens of thousands each year at conferences and schools and churches across North America, and I'm bringing that online so that we can reach even more people. And I need your help. A few years ago, I started this video series called All That Catholic Stuff, as a way that we could grow deeper in our faith and appreciation and understanding of why we do and believe the things that we do as Catholics. Now, All That Catholic Stuff is expanding in a very exciting new way. I'm bringing longer videos and live streams and talks and music and CDs and books and all of these resources together online for this community so that we can help foster the faith in one another. And all of these resources, these CDs and these books and these videos, they take time and they take money to produce. So if this is something that you're able to support, I'd be so grateful. Being a patron gives you access to my music and talks and faith resources and live streams and chat community, but most especially, it enables you to be part of a faith community online because we were never meant to be in this alone. We were never meant to be isolated. And so if that's something that you might find beneficial in your faith journey, I want to invite you to check that out. Patreon.com/Chris Bray. I know that God has called me to serve his people, and with all of the COVID travel restrictions that are in place, that's not going to happen anytime soon. And so I want to invite you to journey with us as we grow in our holiness together and grow in relationship with Jesus Christ. Go to patreon.com/Chris Bray. Thanks. God bless. You're calling me closer.